Hello everybody, this video is entitled MSTR Stock All for Stretch. It's all about STRC for Sailor. Sailor is doing everything he can to get Stretch STRC back at 100, trading back to par so that he can ATM Stretch. And how is he doing that? How is he getting Stretch back to par? He's issuing MSTR common stock in order to raise the cash on the balance sheet to assuage the fears of the market of him running out of money to pay these twice a month dividends. And so now he has $3.2 billion worth of cash. That amount of cash is a lot of money. It actually covers the dividends on the preferreds, on all of the preferreds, and of course there are 5 preferreds. It covers these dividends on the preferred for 22 months. And so this cash, this amount of cash, this cash balance, this USD reserve as it calls it, exists to assuage the fears of investors, who think Bitcoin maybe is headed to 30,000, maybe to 20,000, and who think that Sailor will not be able to uphold the dividend payments. I was expecting something small. It's a little more than what I thought he would do, but in the grand scheme of things, for strategy, $225 million raised with MSTR common stock is actually still fairly small for strategy. Of note, the fact is that the reserve is now above $3 billion, so that's a psychological threshold. But at $3.2 billion, this is actually a huge amount of cash for any company. I remember when this company was still about $1 billion worth of market cap. And what is this move going to do to the short-term stock price? Well, it seems like the stock price is up a little bit. The stock is up 1.5%. Stretch is up 0.8%. The key, though, is that these movements, the movements of Stretch and the movements of MSTR in price, are they any different from random? Are they random movements? I think over the short term, this market has been extremely fickle. There's been so many random price movements, and I am not so sure that the price of strategy or the price of Stretch is influenced by corporate actions like adding $200 million to the USD reserve. I think the market is pretty numb to that. In my view, studying the stock for a long time, this asset, MSTR, trades based on Bitcoin. And if Bitcoin does quite well, MSTR does quite well, and STRC goes back up. If we want to see these assets go up much more in value, we need to see Bitcoin go much more in value. We need to see Bitcoin go up, back to say 80,000, like we were almost heading there. Was it 2 months ago? We were almost back there. We need to see the asset getting back to these levels. And as long as Bitcoin is in the gutters, which it is, 64,000 is a low price, frankly, for Bitcoin. It's a quite low price. As long as we have these disappointing price levels for Bitcoin, we're going to have disappointing price levels for MSTR and for strategy. And the problem, of course, is that Bitcoin is heavily influenced by the macro. And the macro is still not too good. Yes, the Nasdaq is up a little bit today, up in pre-market almost 1%. But if you look at oil is still at a disastrous $82, right? Gas prices in the US, I saw news this morning, the average gas price in the US is something at like $4 a gallon, $4 a gallon in the US. So the macro is still bad. The 10-year just won't drop. It just won't drop. It's stubbornly at 4.5. If 10 years so high, are we going to get the rate cuts that we so desperately need for macro assets to do well? We are still in a hold pattern. This market is still extremely fearful. And even though Bitcoin has improved on fear and greed, this is the crypto market cap fear and greed index, Bitcoin has improved quite a bit at 35%. That's pretty positive. That's increased quite a bit. We are still in fear territory. So here's what I'm noticing. I'm noticing kind of a decoupling between crypto and the Nasdaq, and it seems like crypto has been holding up pretty well. Bitcoin has been holding up pretty well compared to AI stocks this past week. But Bitcoin is still not having high performance. It still doesn't have the great performance that we need it to have in order for these assets like MSTR or STRC to recover. In my view, Sailor should do nothing and just wait. And of course, Sailor being Sailor, this is the version of Sailor doing nothing. This is a small move, a small reassuring move. I think in Sailor's book, this is the same as doing nothing. He's just not doing much, just waiting. That's all we have to do, in my view, if we want to see these assets recover. And of course, if Bitcoin never recovers, these assets are never going to do well. But that was always the case. So I am crossing my fingers for a good macro week this week. Hopefully, we get some good news from the Middle East and Middle East tensions, and that should be reflected into Bitcoin, and then that should flow into MSTR, flow back into MSTR, and flow back into all of these Bitcoin-related assets. Anyways, this was not investment advice. This is not financial advice. This is only entertainment. I'm hoping you were entertained. Please like, please subscribe, follow me on Patreon, follow me on X. Thank you for watching, and have a wonderful, wonderful day.